My name is Gus Nathan. I was assigned to the 486th Bomb Group. Prior to that, I was with the 9th Anti-Submarine Command. I started my service when I enlisted as a flight cadet at Grenier Air Force Base in Manchester, New Hampshire. I was exposed to the groups, and I tried to take advantage of it one morning by running to the mess hall for breakfast, slipped and fell, broke my ankle, and they took me off of flight schedule. I was eliminated from the flight class and assigned to administrative duty. When I was assigned to administrative duty, they gave me the job in June, July, and August of being a lifeguard at the lake. Now, mind you, I was a lifeguard with a cast on my leg almost up to my knee. And I used to get in the rowboat every day and say to the people, "Don't drown because I've got a cast and I'm not coming in after you." So I did that for 3 months. At the end of that period, they assigned me to operations, and I became operations for the length of my period, going from New Hampshire to McCook, Nebraska, on to Davis-Monthan Field in Arizona, and then overseas to Sudbury, Suffolk, where we flew missions from that point. In operations, it was my responsibility to work with the commander to assign crews for each mission. And it was, to this day, I still feel that feeling when I sent out 5 crews with 10 men on board each aircraft, which was 50 men, and only 3 would come back. That means that we lost 20 souls, 20 friends, 20 comrades that can never be replaced. This went on for the years until we had a system that was a point system, and if we accumulated enough points, we were then relieved and sent home. I had an incident at operations where a young lieutenant navigator came to see me one day. He was about my age, and he said he had a problem. And I said, "Okay, what's the problem?" And he said, "My problem is that I've completed I think it was 30 missions, and I can go home and then come back to fly another tour, or I can stay and fly 5 more missions and then go home for good. What should I do?" I thought a minute and said, "I'm not wise enough to make that kind of a decision." So I said to him, "Here is how I see it. If you go home and spend 30 days at home and the war ends, you're home free and clear. But if the war doesn't end, you've got to come back and fly those missions, and probably with a strange crew at a strange air base. Number 2, if you stay and fly the 5 missions and get it over with, then you can go home and it's done with. Make up your own mind." He said, "Thank you very much. and he left. The only way I knew what decision he made was the next morning at briefing, he was there, and he was there to fly a mission. So I knew that he had elected to fly the 5 missions to complete his tour. Unfortunately, and I was standing in the tower watching the aircraft come back from the mission, and I counted the aircraft, and they were all there, but one was shot up terribly, but made it home, and he was one of the people shot up, and by the time they got him to the hospital, he had passed. I remember these incidents because they were life, and life, when we were in the service, was hell. I was there until it was relieved and we were sent home. And that in itself is the story of how I got home. I got home on one of our aircraft, and I brought home with me momentum, a Luger, a German gun, a German uniform, and some other paraphernalia. And on the aircraft, playing cards to pass the time, I lost the Luger, I lost the uniform, and I lost the paraphernalia. I have been in the broadcasting business all of my business life. I've worked for NBC. I've owned my own television and radio stations. As a matter of fact, I'm honored to have my daughter here with me today, who managed one of the stations. And the broadcasting business has been good to me all these years. As I look around, I see how our ranks have diminished. Our ranks have diminished of veterans. And what we've got to do is we've got to have 2nd generation and 3rd generation people come to be with us to keep the memories alive, keep the memories of what we went through alive, so that our children and grandchildren will remember the Second World War and the 8th Air Force.